We all have friends, loved ones, relatives who claim to be believers, but yet don't want to hear your message of how the Father's law system could save our families, our churches, and even our nation. They think that the law is dead. They think that man can fix this thing if you just write the right rules and get the right lawmakers in place, the right politicians. Ask them these questions, and they won't have a whole lot of wiggle room. They're very simple questions. They're very loving. There's nothing that they could look at you and say that you're being antagonistic or that you're being too aggressive or something like that. But ask them these simple questions. Well, if you're a believer, then who is wiser, God or man? And they'll say, well, God, of course. Well, who would you say could be trusted to be more fair? Well, God, of course. Let's say it again. Who would you say between God or man is more loving? Again, God. Then why do we let corrupt men write all the rules on how to get along with one another? And they will possibly just scratch their heads and won't have an answer for you. But just ask them, yes, if we have an all-loving God, as most people say, is the most brilliant being that ever existed, is the most just God, then why do we have man writing the rules? If this God is so loving, so wise, so fair, how could his rules that teach us how to love one another, how to get along, how to protect one another, how could they be so wicked? How could they be so cruel? How could they be harmful to us? Why are the churches teaching us that those rules are done away with? If your God is wiser than man, if your God is more fair than man, if he is more loving than man, then how could those rules be anything but perfect? Like the psalmist wrote, the law of Yahweh is perfect. Read Psalm 19, folks. Is your God an all-loving God? Is he a wise God? Is he fair? Is he just? Then why have we let the churches and the politicians trick us away from his system on how to love one another? What have we done? We have kicked out of our lives the most important information we were ever given. Information on how to love one another, how to be fair with one another, how to help one another, how to protect one another. We, as churches, as families, as nations, as the world, have kicked this God out of our lives, have kicked his rules so far away because we were told that they're old-fashioned, that they're a myth, that they were done away with. And we were told this by corrupt men who wanted to write rules that would eventually take all our money, enslave us, and even kill off all of those that they didn't, quote, need, unquote. Why? Answer me, my friend. Why? If you say that God's wiser, God is more fair, God is more loving, why do you not want to hear how his laws, his statutes, his judgments are not the most perfect way to teach us responsibility on how to love one another, how to get along with one another, how to protect one another? Why, my friend, won't you listen? And why is such a little book and its disciplines so hard of a price to pay for an eternity of love and peace and harmony? Why is it so difficult to want to think that we could take the time to think this through and mature in these disciplines that teach us such a wonderful way of loving one another. And if even after this short message, you still don't want to hear the truth about how Father's laws, statutes, and judgments teach us how to love, protect, and help one another, then you are only proving to yourself that you've become complete bosom buddies with Satan and his ways. For selfish reasons. I'm saying the Father's wiser. He's more fair. He's more loving. I want to follow him. I want to listen to everything he's got to say. He gave me the breath of life that I have. He gave me a free will to choose his ways or the world's ways. He said, my ways teach love. My ways teach us how to be responsible, how to help one another, how to protect one another. You can choose Satan's ways, his ways of the world, his temptations that cause you to believe that you can be a god. And if you want to be a god, then you can be a god with Satan. My dear friends, if you want to believe that Satan and his corrupt politicians can teach us how to make a better world, then when that day of judgment comes, that loving, fair, wise God has to decide who goes where, where's he going to expect that you want to stay? With him in learning how to love one another, or with Satan in learning how to step on one another? Some will be found in his jurisdiction, and some will be found clinging to the other side. Father's not going to drag people kicking and screaming into a better life who didn't want that life while they were here. Please rethink this, folks. The instructions in that Bible are the greatest gift we've ever been given. It teaches us how to love one another, protect one another, and live in complete peace and harmony with one another. Please think it through. And if you have loved ones like we do, help us spread this truth. Help us spread this to a world where there's so many out there who don't know they've been lied to. Help us encourage those that we care about to not let the lies of the world clutter their minds anymore and keep us anywhere from hearing the heartbeat of the one that created us. Because he loves us in ways that we can't even fathom, my friends. Shouldn't we be loving him back with more respect than we've ever given anyone else in our lives? Please think this through, my friends. We'll help you. There's tons of information that breaks this all down on our website. Please take some time and learn how the Father's Bible can bring love to your heart, to your family, and even to a destitute world. I thank you for your time. Hallelujah.